Hey there, we're live. I'm Angela Sackett. I write for SaletLux.com. That's SaletLux and dancingwithmyfather.net. Salet Lux is where I primarily share home decor, recipes, and hints for hospitality with the idea of welcoming people with the love of God. So today I'm so glad you're here, and as you're here, definitely feel free to share to your own Facebook page, click like, and leave comments because I want to hear what you have to say also. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about easy, inexpensive fall spruce ups, and by that I mean ways that you can make your home feel excited about the change of the seasons, welcoming. I know when we lived in Florida, the weather doesn't change very much. It might be still really warm where you are, might stay really warm where you are. But there are little things that you can do that don't cost a lot that are very welcoming as well. So definitely chime in as you're watching, whether you're live or whether you're watching later, because we check the comments and we love to have your interaction. So let's get started. I have just a few hints that I wanted to give about ways that you can do that. And for us, we have a family with 5 kiddos. 2 of them are grown and on their own now, sort of. But I don't have oodles and gobs of money to spend on decorating, and I love to follow all the blogs with these amazing interior designers and daydream. But at the same time, I just want to be able to bring some of those welcoming ideas into our house without spending a ton. So that's really one of my biggest focuses that we'll talk about today, is ways that we can save money while we're doing this. Any comments so far? Am I good? Okay, good. First thing I want to talk about is the suggestion, the idea of suggestion. So if you are the kind of person who loves to go to the big box store or the dollar store and grab everything orange and pumpkin you can find, there is nothing wrong with that. Go for it, be all in. But I'm not. Orange is a part of my decor year-round, which you can probably see in the pictures and in what I'm wearing. But I'm not really a jack-o'-lantern girl, and so I would prefer to give suggestions of the changing of the season. And when you do that, you also don't tie yourself in. You can stretch your decorations out for a lot longer. So if everything you have is goblins and ghouls and jack-o'-lanterns or pumpkins, it's harder to stretch that out for longer time. I don't want to have to decorate every 2 months either. So what I do is I like to make suggestions of the season. And by what I mean by that is bringing in little pieces here and there that kind of hint at season. So for me, that might be, I happened to be in Trader Joe's recently, and they had these beautiful eucalyptus branches, and they had, I don't even know, if you know what this other plant is, let me know. They were super cheap. They were like $3 or $4 for a huge bouquet. And so I just grabbed those, and I literally took those 2 bouquets, which cost me maybe $6 or $8, and I split them into about 4 different places. I have a little drinking glass in our guest bathroom that has a little sprig of those. I have a little spot in our dining room. And so that's just a little hint at the changing of the seasons, or suggestion as I would call it. Before I was ready to go full force into pumpkins, I was thinking about harvest, and we have apple picking and pumpkin picking up here. So I found these cool little, and this is something that I invested in a little bit. I think this was like $5 or $6. And I found these little apple and pear fruits. They have a little hint of the fall season and the idea of harvest, but they're not full-on pumpkin. And so I can make those last all the way from beginning of September through Christmas. I can just change out the greenery that I put with them. So that's what I mean by hinting at the seasons. Another way that you can do that is by honoring the decor that's already in your house. Let me know if I have comments I need to respond. Go ahead.
Miss Naomi says, love Trader Joe's. Those are so cute.
Me too. And I don't know, maybe you guys already knew this, but I discovered Trader Joe's has these little big plastic cones that you slip onto the edge of your cart, and you can put your bouquet in that while you're shopping. So maybe that's a new thing. It was cool for me, but there's a little hint. So back to hint or suggestion of the seasons. Our home decor is primarily a warm gray tone. We have a lot of creams. We have oranges throughout our home, and we have a little bit of green and some teal. So normally when we have guests and we set the table, and I don't use cloth napkins every night, although there were several years as a newlywed mom that I did, then I, regained my senses. But when we have guests over or when we have a special night, we normally use like layers of gray And so to kind of suggest the changing of the seasons, I just picked up 4 more. For you, it might be 2 more napkins that I can mix and match. So these have the warmer tones in them, but they don't scream autumn, they don't scream pumpkin, they just have a little hint of the warmer tones. And that's the next thing I want to talk about, and that is color. So I'm a photographer, and I'm extremely visual. My daughter is a watercolor artist, or budding watercolor artist, and she's the same way. We're very visual. And in photography, one of the kind of foundational principles is color of light, temperature of light. And if I were to say to you warm versus cool, whether you know photography or not, you would probably immediately think warm, yellow, gold, orange, versus cool, blues, grays, the cooler colors. Somebody said something on there maybe.
Miss Nadine says, "Hi Angela, happy to be joining you live this time. Love the idea of hints of fall, very budget friendly."
Yes, exactly, Nadine. Nadine said she loved the idea of the hints, and it is so budget friendly. And I'll tell you too, I have 1 box of autumn stuff that I pull out. It's you know, one of those big tubs, but it maybe has 6 things in it, and I pull those out year after year. They're not super tied to any one decor, but they're kind of neutral, and those give me little hints. What was I going to say? Oh, color temperature. So rather than necessarily being super literal, you can bring in just little hints of warmer tones that complement the decor you already have. One example of that, so our guest bathroom has like a sagey green color on the walls, and rustic wood reclaimed pieces that we put up for our lighting fixtures that we made. So I want to kind of bring in that suggestion of fall. I don't necessarily have to go with a big orange or a pumpkin hand towel, but I think I spent $2 on the clearance rack for a green towel instead of a teal blue one that looks a little bit warmer. Or if I want to get really warm, I can go with an orange color. But as you can see, and this is almost the wall color that I have in my guest bathroom, these go together really well. They sort of hint at the seasons, but it brings in the warmer tones. And as we move towards winter, you can actually just flip that idea. A lot of people tend to go more toward the cool tones. So you may, as it gets cooler where you are, then you might want to bring in more of the blues, the silvers, the grays. So just think about that. The temperature of the colors that you bring in actually has a big effect on how your home feels for the seasons. So next thing is, and I'm always talking about the senses, but smell for me is number 1. And we've kind of talked about that before when we talked about creating a welcoming guest room. But smell, as you know, has a huge part in how we take in the way a room feels. You don't necessarily have to go buy every pumpkin spice latte candle that's out there, although I'm happy to do that in my house. But there are a few things that you can do to, again, sort of suggest the changing of the seasons. So maybe you're an essential oils person and you like lemon in the summer. You like the citrus, the grapefruit, the orange. If you're using essential oils, you can just add in to that citrus eucalyptus, or you can bring in cinnamon. You can bring in, I'm trying to think, like the wood cedar is another one that you can use. So just look for ways that you can sort of gradually hint at the changing of the seasons instead of being so literal. The next thing I want to talk about is think practical, think comfort. So for me, yes, I could tend to go buy a bazillion candles and buy swags, and I have a few of those little banners from the dollar section, but I tend to like decor items that are practical and useful. So we live up north, and it does start to get chilly. It has finally started to get chilly for us this week. And for us, that means that we want to curl up when my kids are doing school, because we homeschool, but it might be after school for you guys, or movie night. We want a blanket. We want a cozy blanket. So I look for the warm tones for those practical things. If we use throw pillows, cheapest, coolest trick ever. If you have throw pillows on your couch, perfect example. This is a pillow that it's just a plain cheap filler. I think it was like $3 online. I have these covers that I switch out by the season. So I have one that has like a deer head on it that I put on here in the winter. And I literally think these cost $3 or $4 if you look for them online. So this is another way, the practical things. My kids love their pillows. We pile up and we squish up those pillows and get all cozy. But the practical things can help give a nod to the changing of the seasons too. So there's another idea. Go ahead, sorry.
Miss Rebecca Brand says, love to use citrus, miss you.
Hi, Rebecca Brand. You too, girl. And yes, me too. Citrus for me year round. It has like a bright scent. I'll take lime, lemon, citrus candles that we have in the summer, and then I'll bring in another candle in the room that has more of the spicy tone. So that keeps it bright and fresh, but it also warms things up. Yes, I agree. What was I going to say? Oh, vignettes. So if you are a blog junkie, or if you like to read about design and interiors, a big word in the past couple years has been the word vignette. And as a photographer, again, this is a concept that really I just absolutely love, and it's a huge budget saver. Vignettes are when you create a little area that is decorated, I guess, basically. So I don't know, can you hear okay? If I walk back, I'm going to show you. This is an old piece that we had. It was in our dining room, and we have spray painted it black and just created a place to put stuff. But I have a cake pedestal here. I have a little bundle of cotton that I bought on clearance at a fabric store. And I'm going to bring this closer so you guys can see it. But mirror, there's several things layered, and I've just created one little decorated area. So by doing that, I've sort of hinted at the fall decor, but I don't have to have every single thing in my room decorated either. Which all of those pieces can be pulled and put into other places. And that's another trick I want to share with you is, when in doubt, rearrange. I have a little china cabinet that belonged to my granny that's full of little tchotchkes that belong to my granny or my grandma. And I will sometimes pull those out and just pop them into a little space on a table. And what that does is, it, even for you, especially you, when you're living in your house every day, it just brightens things up, it freshens them up. So, and here's another one. Can you see this okay? This is another little vignette that we've created, and I'm waiting for my resident artist to make me a little watercolor piece to clip on here. But we just put in a fake pumpkin, a couple candles, and created a little vignette on the table. This over here, you know what, let me share with this too. So another idea that I wanted to I guess put out there, if you haven't thought of this, is mix in real stuff with artificial stuff. These are just branches that we found when we were out on a walk at a park that have pine cones attached. My husband laughs at me because I sort of have an obsession with pine cones on branches. But I can mix those in with, I don't know if you can even tell from where you are. So this was like a $2 maybe store pumpkin. It weighs next to nothing. It's styrofoam, I think. And this is a real one that was just from the grocery store. And if I put those together, it tricks the eye, and we sort of buy it as this whole real vignette, I guess. So that's that for you too, is mix real stuff with artificial stuff. And there's something about our eye that it sort of buys in, and it believes, oh, hey, there's this beautiful arrangement of real pumpkins and greens and whatever you might have. If you buy artificial greenery, that's another way that you can sort of make it look more real. And that's something I learned from my mother-in-law, is she would mix in real artificial flowers with real eucalyptus. So, any comments? Good, we're good. Okay, I'm flying through. Another tip, and if you don't do this already, I think it's worth spending 20 minutes, half an hour on the internet. If you're a Pinterest junkie, just search for free printables. Free watercolor printables is something I always search for. I have 4 or 5 frames scattered throughout my house in little vignettes that I switch out. So I'll have maybe 4 prints that are layered inside this frame, and I just swap them out when the season comes around. If I see a new vignette or a new printable that's scripture that I love, bloggers will a lot of times create these and give them away for free if you follow their blog. Which is a little plug if you follow salettlux.com or dancingwithmyfather.net. We do that there too, and there's all kinds of free printables that you can download and use in your decor. Now this one, I have to brag, is not a free printable. I joked about my resident artist, but my daughter has been doing watercolor, and so occasionally I will twist her arm and she'll make me a piece of original art that we use. Layering is one more tip that I had for you. So we have all white dishes, and I do that on purpose because I want them to be super versatile, and also because they look really pretty. Food looks pretty on white dishes, and that's one of those things that I'm very visual, and maybe you're the same way. It's a good idea to have neutral everyday items like your dishes or your linens, so that you can mix and match those and do that idea of the suggestion of the seasons. But one way that you can really play up the changing of the seasons is by layering in some seasonal pieces. So what I mean by that is, for instance, I found these placemats, and again, super inexpensive, but it would have been expensive if I needed 8 of them, which we would to seat any guests at our table. So I can take a couple of these, put them end to end on the dining table, and then I can just layer them with our white dishes. Can you see that okay if I layer, or you want me to, I can hold it, okay? All right, so just to give you an idea, here's my very neutral white dishes. I can take this twig runner, I can take one of these, I mentioned I just bought a couple pieces of seasonal linens, layer that on there. Now I'm going to put on my white plates, and then another napkin if you want. You can put it underneath there, and all of a sudden we're starting to get this really beautiful vignette. Can you see it okay? Okay. If I wanted to, instead of doing that, I could take the same napkin or a different color. Whoops! All I'm going to do is just pull that through, put that on here, and then put it in the bowl. And now I have this super pretty layered effect. Again, natural stuff mixed in. These are pine cones that we found in the woods. Little hint on that, if you are exploring and you don't know this, you should dry these out. And I'm not going to give you the directions, but I know on the internet you can pop these in the oven and dry them out. You don't want to end up with little critters on your table, and I might or might not know that from experience. So, I think that's about all I have for hints. Anybody have ideas that you like to share? Go ahead.
Amy Glover says, hi, gorgeous.
Ah, Amy, my West Coast friend. This woman, by the way, has a phenomenal design eye, artistic eye, and talk about talented young artists. Your daughters are amazingly talented. So yeah, any thoughts? Anybody have ideas? Something you liked, you didn't like? Awesome. You guys are easy today. Well, I'm super thankful that you joined us. I just want to encourage you, no matter where you live, no matter what the seasons are like, open up your home. And by doing that, you open up your heart to share God's love with people. The more that we welcome people into our homes without having to be fancy, and if you feel like these things are too fancy, comment below and let's get even more simple. But the more that we open up our hearts and open up our homes to people, the more we can share God's love with them, the more we can encourage people and how amazing they are created to be by the God who made them, and the more we can start to transform the world we live in. If you like what you see, share today, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching on playback. And I would love to have you visit sal@lux.com or dancingwithmyfather.net. Thanks so much for being here. Have a good day.